Ivan, I'm Chief Business Officer of Infobip. In our nomenclature, that means I lead strategy, go-to-market, sales, marketing, partnerships, and developer experience globally. So the whole business vertical. So, today, I just need to go on my slides.
1 second. They need to start the other slide deck in the back.
Yeah. So, sorry, as usual, technical issues. So, I think what I'm going to talk to you today is a perspective on the industry, and where do I think it will go forward, and what do we need to do together in order to make this industry attractive for years to come. I just have 30 seconds on Infobip for the people that maybe don't know us in the audience. We are one of the largest cloud communications providers in the world. We have physical offices in 77 countries and available everywhere in the world, and we operate massive infrastructure with more than 800 direct operator connects, and really built for massive scale. Some 500 billion messages and over 1 trillion other interactions, and so forth. And over time, we actually built a pretty kind of interesting stack. We believe that we need to own our infrastructure to guarantee compliance, quality, security. So we are actually, deeply integrated into telco world, but also run massive cloud operations, both on cloud and partnering with Microsoft Azure. We built a large portfolio of channels that are all available as one-stop shop, more than 30. And then we built a conversational AI platform, and now we're going into LLM tooling and verticalization and so forth. And for this, we are recognized by many analysts as a leading company, both Gartner, IDC, but also non-standard one like Fast Company included us in the list of most innovative companies in the world. However, I didn't come to talk about the Infobip. I came to talk about state of the CPaaS industry, and actually certain clouds have been gathering in CPaaS over last couple of years. First of all, what we see is commoditization of services that is happening, especially when it comes to SMS, but also some other things like voice and so forth. We also see that a little bit of a red ocean strategy that's being created, especially with OTTs, that's leading to more kind of local competitors and squeezing margins for all of us, including telcos. And also overall, because of focus on spend and economic austerity last year, we saw slower growth. For us, it's recovering this year, but still it's not at the 30-40% of growth that we saw years before. It's coming back slowly. As a result of that, of course, there was some drop in enthusiasm because people did restructurings and reduction in force. There was actually quite a bit of capital market volatility, so it was hard to raise the capital, and as well, we didn't see many M&A movements as before, especially buying smaller innovative companies to integrate into our stack. All of that slowed down. Despite this, we do believe that actually there is a bright future for this industry, and we kind of think of different types of horizons. So CPaaS 1.0 is really the core channels like SMS, MMS, email, voice. That'll still continue to grow, and that is probably 80% of the market today, but it'll grow at a slower pace. However, there are different things that will make up for that growth in our view. So one is really growth in the two-way conversational apps, RCS, as well as different types of experiences and omni-channel tools that we provide for companies to orchestrate their customer journey. And then CPaaS, and that is already kind of present. It's not negligible market, but it's growing at a higher pace. Let's say I estimate that to be somewhere between 10 to 20%. And then what will really come, where we are looking forward to the innovation, is the CPaaS 3.0, where we will use our expertise in the channel and the fact that we have this channel landed at many customers to drive digital transformation using AI, using verticalized solution, and kind of building new use cases using network APIs. And that actually, for us, is growing at a staggering pace, more than 100% year over year, although from a small base. So I think if we sustain this innovation cycle, this industry has a big future ahead of us. However, there are certain challenges that we need to solve. And so I'll just mention a couple of them. I isolated the three most important ones. So the first challenge is really market environment. First of all, we are a little bit in the red ocean situation now, where people are really starting to compete by significantly dropping prices, and that's not even outside of common markets, but we see some movements there also in US. And as well, there are different players who are trying to avoid the whole ecosystem. Then, we also see a problem that is threatening sustainability of the industry, because the artificially inflated traffic, fraud, it has many negative consequences that we need to address. And the final thing that is kind of hanging and why investors are skeptical, and I'll go in each of these one by one, is really value chain disruption, but some of the OTT suppliers that are really kind of trying to disrupt the whole ecosystem, including telcos, including CPaaS players, and so forth. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So let me go to the first one. This is actually from Morgan Stanley, and these are the industry valuations taking different metrics. So one is revenue multiple, the middle one is gross profit multiple or net revenue, the third one is EBITDA multiple. The industry was never at a lower point when it comes to valuation. This is the historical low. And this historical low is not just a problem in terms of people not getting bonuses through equity. That's actually a minor problem. It deprives us from investments that we need to do to accelerate this CPaaS 3.0 because it's harder to raise capital. The industry becomes less attractive for talent that's used to certain compensations and so forth. So I think, I'll talk a little bit later what we can do, but I think we need to change the overall narrative, because whenever I go to this large banking calls or investor presentation, there is a bit of pessimism of how the industry will look like, and people maybe over-index certain things like OTT threat and don't see all the opportunities. I think the other problem is really the sustainability of the industry. So we have an AI tool that we built over years that can detect artificially inflated traffic at different routes, and we are giving this to customers in order to help them avoid this artificial traffic. And results of these analysis that we did are really staggering. I mean, in principle, there are countries where 70% of traffic is likely to be artificial with high probability. And then you go down and, average is somewhere around 25. And don't think that these are just some like random countries. We see around 20% of AIT in US and Canada. So these are players that create fake bots that are pumping in traffic. At certain times they also do attacks to certain companies, so they have peaks in spend. This is very bad. And the reason why it's bad is it leads to overspending. So if 25% of A2P SMS traffic is fraud, these people are paying much higher prices than they should. So on paper, it looks they're getting better price, but actually, some part of that price is fake. If we look 2021, nobody cared because everybody cared about revenue, so it showed some growth in users. But now when the focus is profitability, everybody cares. And this is a huge problem. They also, because sometimes they're peaking the attacks, they have interrupted services. And also there is a trade-off. Instead of them focusing on further innovation and what more they can do with our channels, people are spending their resources in fighting fraud. So this is harming the whole industry, and this needs to stop. I think in this room, we are all together in this, and we probably have intent to stop, but there are also some bad players, even from within, that are kind of mediating this. We're trying to do everything with, and I know other partners here in this room, to block this traffic, but of course it's not always easy. Despite our models, sometimes genuine users will not get authentication. There will be sort of delivery failures of OTPs to the users, but also certain technical issues like how do we integrate the analytics into the core system of the clients, and due to regulation, what data we can share and what we cannot. So it's not that easy. So I think this needs to be a collective effort, both on the regulatory level, but also with the companies to stop this. And then I want to talk about the third challenge that we are facing, and why do we see these clouds, is some of the suppliers, especially OTT, are sort of forward integrating, which is disrupting value chain. And not just for CPaaS players, but also for telcos. Number one, we just saw announcements of very heavy drop in messaging prices. I mean, in some way that can be good for the users, but it's very bad for the telcos, make this whole field less attractive for certain types of messages. These companies that used to build the whole kind of ecosystem on the partners are now going directly to large and micro companies, and then they are leaving kind of the middle, which is then leading to a margin squeeze, harming whole ecosystem, and you know, raising questions with investors, what will happen and so forth. Now, my thing is, this whole thing, you know, it's not an answer to kind of close the industry more and elevate barriers in that way. I think we need to fight this through innovation. And there are a couple of areas of innovation that actually, you know, bring us to this bright future, and we need to accelerate the adoption of these technologies to drive the industry forward. Number one is the RCS. It's a telco-grade channel with Apple devices now supporting it. It represents a huge opportunity, especially in the markets that didn't go through OTTs so far, for example, like United States. But we also see in some markets where, let's say, WhatsApp is strong, RCS is growing strongly, i.e. India. Once this channel is spread through the ecosystem partners, we have an opportunity to really drive a digital transformation through conversational experiences, and I will talk a little bit more about that. And the final thing that's coming maybe in, so 1 and 2 are now in next 5 years, and probably the next kind of S-curve of adoptions are network APIs that we need to work on in order to spread and standardize and adopt to drive the next wave of the development of the industry. So I'll go one by one. OTTs are actually growing, and we see really kind of, they are forecasted to come at around 50% of all active OTT messaging users to 2 billion. I mentioned some regions that didn't have OTTs before. So North America is a prime example, lot of interest from large companies to small companies, really a huge potential. Telcos are moving at a slower pace than what we would want, but in principle, once it's there, it'll change how things operate, and I'll talk a little bit more about that slide. We see in APAC in certain markets, it's growing fast, India as well, and we see adoption across the industry sectors. The thing is, what is very important, Google has commitment that this will be a carrier channel, so it's very important to turn on the full service in many countries to as much as possible users as fast as possible in order for us as an ecosystem to be able to accelerate the adoption of this RCS for business, meaning RBM, in many companies. If that's accelerated, I think we will see a certain evolution in this industry. And I think this channel, together with the tools that we all built, AI tools, omni-channel engagement tools, data capture tools, conversational support tools, will drive a massive transformation. So we will see the evolution or revolution from communication to conversational experiences, where people can start moving smaller or bigger parts of customer journeys into these rich channels, and driving transformation in how marketing works, how customer support works, how sales work. We had a precedent of this in China with WeChat, where now everything is happening in a messaging app. I think this will happen in the Western world. And we will see fundamental changes in marketing. Today's marketing is really kind of based on third-party data with little personalization, and the only answer that a target of this marketing can give you is a binary answer, yes or no. If somebody offers me this jacket, only thing I can do is either click and buy or ignore it. But if we talk about the third column in this slide, conversational experience, I can actually have hyper-personalized experience, one-on-one conversations. There'll be a lot of first-party data, and we'll bring back bargaining in digital world. So if somebody offers me this jacket, I can say, no, I want a green color, and I would expect 20% discount, and then the system can check that I'm a loyal customer and grant that discount. With this, when we implemented this, even for high consideration products like life insurance, we saw massive increase in conversions, fourfold, and this was through design of smart campaigns. We wouldn't send the message and say, buy life insurance. It would be like, hey, are you interested if you're covered well for your family and old age? And then they would fill in the survey and messaging, and they could start chatting and book an appointment with agent. So this is kind of the impact we're talking about. This is massive impact. The other area where this will have a big impact, and I'll be short, is customer support, automating customer support. You can deflect to messaging. You could have bots or orchestration, and then bots talking to people. And then if the bots cannot resolve it, we can escalate to an agent. In the applications we've done around the world, we see anything from 30 to 60% decrease in customer support costs through automation of more transactional tasks, and then letting agents or humans be human and solve more complex problems for people. So this is a big way where this industry, I mean the whole ecosystem, telcos, that are at the same time having a network, having a channel, but many of telcos have B2B units that are really big system integrators, and us that have these software tools and know how to get these channels can drive the transformations of many industry, making this another pillar in digital transformations of companies. And this is just an example. You know, the ability of what we can do here is really immense. We can drive end-to-end personalized experience from, you know, searching for the product, buying the product, getting delivery notification, getting support and satisfaction survey. And for this, we'll need to have API-first rich messaging in different channels, composable software that companies can use to build these experiences very rapidly, moving CapEx to OpEx, and then verticalized and AI-fueled use cases. And then the final opportunity, I think, is what we will talk about a lot here, is the open network APIs. I think this is going to be a game changer for network monetization. The Camara was a great move to standardize this. As you know, Infobip has one country active on network APIs, which is Brazil. And that was the only way to have 100% of country and coverage to offer to businesses, because nobody will deal with patchy coverage and like I have this function working in 30% of population. So we hope that Camara standards will bring new opportunities and that we'll start turning on countries one by one. And you know, these collaborations that are being formed, either Ericsson and Telco JV, or what we are doing with Nokia, and I hope we all come together, will help us not only, you know, activate the technology, but work with the business to define the use cases. Whether these are authentication, silent mobile verification, whether it's sending signals about fraud detection, whether it's quality on demand to enable, you know, certain apps to work in the jam situations, or geolocation marketing. I think there's a whole framework that needs to be developed, from compliance through use cases, and finally to business models, because not all of them will be consumptions, and we all need to learn together. So I think it's very important that we mobilize together. So in conclusion, I think the industry is at a crossroads. There are some clouds, but I think the opportunity is much bigger, and we'll capture this opportunity through innovation. We need to accelerate investments in AI, in network APIs. We need to start looking for adjacencies. How can we drive transformation in businesses, and potentially some level of in-sector consolidation as well should happen in order to have more investment and more gunpowder to accelerate the innovation. And my final slide is just that to invite the whole ecosystem here, because this is an industry summit, to work together on a couple of things. So first of all, we need to change the narrative of this industry toward the external world and the investors to dismantle that pessimism and give an optimistic story toward relevant stakeholders. This could be public, this could be regulators, but also investors, and especially other industry. No single company here is big enough to do it alone. I think if we come together and craft that narrative and we sort of stay within parameters, it'll project a better picture of the industry. The second thing is, and I think you're all committed to this, is to work together to ensure sustainability of the industry, to prevent the fraud, and to actually work on pricing sustainability across the globe in order to further drive adoption of the channel, because the channel is just one stepping stone toward driving digital transformation. I think we should also work together also with partners like Google to speed up adoption of RCS and set that stage for the next wave of growth. I think we should really collaborate and not kind of stumble at these beginnings, because it's very important that the adoption is there, so we can that the network is enabled, so we can drive adoption in the industries. And then finally, as I mentioned in my last slide, is I think we need to all engage together, including partners, smaller partners, startups, developers, to drive experimentation and monetizations of network APIs, to develop use cases, to develop business models, and then really create that playbook that would enable us to, within 5 years, really make this a significant revenue stream. With that said, that was kind of my intro, and hopefully this gives a frame of the overall industry and some thoughts for food for thought in where can we collaborate all together in order to drive this next waves of growth that I showed on one of the charts. Thank you.